So page 5 of The Nation says the government wants an extra 32 billion shillings for the security sector over the next 4 months, not even 4. We're in March. March, April, May, okay, June, 4, sawa. By the time this thing is approved, it's mid-March.
Right.
Okay, sawa. Which is more than a third of the 88 billion shillings mini budget being considered by the National Assembly. So here's the thing. We have a supplementary budget that's being considered by Parliament now. And what is a supplementary budget, for those who may not know? We had the budget that was passed in June last year,
right,
which said this is how much we're going to spend, and these are the areas we're going to spend. Specific, 20 shillings to Nunua, Kalamu, 25 bob, Yakunini, like that. Now, a supplementary budget comes when the National Treasury says we'd like to reorganize how this money is to be spent.
Right.
Okay? Now, they're coming to say we'd like to reorganize how 88 billion shillings of our budget is going to be spent. More than a third of that affect security sector. What are they? For example, the National Intelligence Service, which had been allocated 46.4 billion shillings, is to get an extra 9.8 billion shillings. Okay? To bring their cumulative budget to 56.2 billion shillings in this financial year. An extra 9.8, well, let's just say 10 billion shillings to spend between now and June. NIS. Okay? Now, the chair of the Committee on Defense and Foreign Relations in the National Assembly, Nelson Koech, says the NIS budget has been increased on account of the need to enhance security operations due to regional instability in Somalia, DRC, Ethiopia, Uganda, Sudan, and South Sudan. Okay? And the NIS Director of Administration, David Karanja, had appeared before the committee and said they'd like to address the use of drones by insurgents to conduct attacks on key installations, increase service capacity to deal with rising cyber attack cases, and continue monitoring the security situation due to heightened political activities in the country. This doesn't sound like something that has emerged now.
I was just about to say that. Are we, due to, for example, increased budget on the need to enhance security
and use drones
in Somalia, DRC, Ethiopia, Uganda, Sudan, and South Sudan? Is this a surprise, a new thing, a new development? You
could say that the instability currently in South Sudan could be something. But, I mean, the instability in South Sudan has been there for a while. You could say that DRC, yes, in this year alone, we have seen what's happened in DRC.
That's okay.
So you could also say that, yeah, you've seen what's happening in Ethiopia, parts of Ethiopia, in Somalia, in Sudan itself, and in parts of Uganda. All right. But is it unforeseen?
No.
Are we saying that the NIS had not, their own intelligence system could not have detected that, well, the way things are looking like in DRC, we may need to be prepared. The way things are looking like in South Sudan, as we are hosting those peace talks here in South Sudan, we need to be prepared. The way things have been in Sudan, are you saying that this is unforeseen? I don't see how it's unforeseen.
Help me clear something up.
Okay.
Our National Intelligence Service essentially is working to collect intelligence about, about any potential foreign threats to Kenya.
Yeah.
Within and without, right?
Yes.
Within and without.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. So were they not perceived before? Were they not seen coming? Whether it's an escalation of the situation in DRC, whether it's an escalation of the situation in South Sudan, could those things not have been foreseen and therefore budgeted for?
Yeah, especially because they got 46 billion shillings. There are 46 billion shillings. You're saying that that 46 billion shillings is not sufficient to do the work until June.
That's right.
You need an urgent 10 billion shillings. In fact, what is happening here is some of this money has already been spent. Remember Article 223 of the Constitution, where you can spend money and then go to Parliament with a supplementary budget and seek approval afterwards. Yeah. Some of this money, according to even this story, has already been spent. The Ministry of Defense, for example, is getting an extra 6.8 billion shillings on top of the 172.95 billion that it was allocated in June last year.
And
the extra allocation has not been explained.
Okay. I was asking you this earlier, just before we went on air.
Yeah.
The NIS specifically doesn't have to account for its budget, at least not publicly, right?
Yeah, they account for it.
To the Auditor General.
Yeah.
That's
but yes, but it does not have to be made even in Parliament to this Defence Committee. Some areas they may discuss in camera, but it will be highly redacted for public consumption. But there's somebody who must know what you have spent the money for.
Is that the same for the Ministry of Defence?
Same for the Ministry of Defence. There are some areas which you say now this is highly security or sensitive information. So somebody must know, but not for general public consumption. So not all 349 members of the National Assembly, for example, will be told, well, you spent 59 million ya kutafuta intelligence pale South Sudan. No.
But of course, people in the National Security Council, I'm assuming?
Yes. Those ones must know.
They know.
I also assume that Nelson Koech and his committee must be able to ask some questions and know. Otherwise,
so many questions.
This parliamentary committee should be satisfied with the information that it's given, so that when it reports to the bigger house, it says, we interrogated, we were satisfied, we'll not give you the details.
Right.
It's all highly confidential, but believe us.
I'm finding it hard to push back on them wanting an extra 32 billion when I don't know what they spent the other 46 billion on. It's a conundrum.
It's where it is.
Again,
the police also want an extra.
Intelligence.
Police want an extra 6.8 billion shillings above the 114.9 billion shillings budget approved last year. Police also want an extra amount of money. Okay? The increase is on account of enhancement of operations and maintenance to cater for security operations and police modernization. That does not sound like an emergency that needs budgetary allocation.
It does not.
Because all these 32 billion shillings that's going into these security operations is coming from other sectors. The question would be, whose money are you taking away to put into these security operations? Who is getting 32 billion shillings less in all these other areas? Is it health? Is it education? Is it
development
spending? Is it control of budget? Who is it? State House is also getting an extra amount of money. 3.81 billion shillings more, raising its current budget to 8.12 billion shillings from 4.3. We allocated them 4.3 billion. They want 3.8 extra billion.
Austerity yangoa.
The increase for State House is on account of operation and maintenance. That's the one we were talking about the other day. Vehicle servicing, like they didn't know they have vehicles. Buying chapati for State House. This is not even for the children of Nairobi. Just operation and maintenance. An extra 3.8 billion shillings. We've given you 4.3 billion shillings. 3.8 billion shillings is like what, 70%?
Yeah, of that. For maintenance.
Yeah. Cool. Juxtapose that with the story that you are going to tell us and you had wanted to tell us that is on page what?
This is about Nyakango.
Yes.
Let me see what page I've seen it on.
It's on page 8.
Yes, there we go.
Of the Daily Nation.
Tell us. Let's take a short break first.
Oh, it's break time.
Yeah, before we come back to Maggie, one of my favorite people. But hashtag remains Fixing the Nation NTV. We'll be right back after this with why the controller of budget is having an 850 million shilling budget cut, potentially.